so 4.2 is specifically about parallelograms. So parallelograms are shapes where we have two sets of parallel sides, and there's a few rules about parallelograms, which I'll go through throughout the course of this. The first rule about parallelograms is opposite sides are equal. Okay, so if I know that this is 10, the opposite side is also 10. This is 5, this is also 5. So you should have only two links that you're working with at any given time. So let's look at the first question here. We're told that there's a farmer that needs to enclose a section of land that is shaped like a parallelogram. By using the barn for one side. The barn and the side opposite the barn will be 9 feet. Alright, so we got a barn side and we got the side opposite. They're 9 feet. One of the other sides is 7 feet long. What is the length of the last side? Well, if these two sides have to be equal, this last side would be 7 feet. And we can use that information to solve different equations. So for instance here at number 2, I see I have opposite sides, which means this 2x plus 10 should be the same as that 22, which gives us a nice two-step equation to be able to solve for. If you've forgotten your two-step equations, there's lots of places to look. You can reach out for help. What I like to do is start with what's furthest away from my x. Well, that looks like the 10. My 10's positive, so I always ask myself, what's the opposite of positive 10? Well, that would be negative 10. And I'm going to subtract 10 from both sides to keep things balanced. So 2x, those 10's cancel, equals 12. Last step, when you write a 2 next to your x, that's multiplication, so the opposite is division, so x would equal 6 here. This question just asked about the length of x, so I don't need to do any more work. It's a very similar problem here at number 3. We have those two opposite sides, and I can set up for x plus 5 should equal 28. I'm going to do my subtraction. And x is 23. After I subtract, I'm then going to divide out that 4. And this will definitely not come out to be a nice even number. So 23 divided by 4 is, there we go, is x equal to 5.75. So that would be our answers for those. Opposite sides are congruent. It looks like number 4 is another one. We've got these opposite sides. Even though it looks a little more complicated here, we're still dealing with that same idea that 2x plus 50 is going to equal 4x plus 20. In this situation, we have x's on both sides. What I would recommend doing is moving the smaller x to the opposite side. So between 4x and 2x, 2x is smaller. To move it to the other side, I'm going to subtract my 2x. Cross out, I get 50 equal to 4x minus 2x is 2x plus 20. I now have a two-step equation. I'll subtract 20 from both sides, which will give me 30 equal to 2x, divide by 2, and x equals 15. Be careful here. This question actually asks us what is the length of MO. So in this situation, we have to plug it back in. That's just because it once asked us to. So make sure in Apex you're just reading through the question thoroughly to see what they're asking for. But NO is this side here. So that would be 4 times 15 plus 20. 4 times 15 is 60 plus 20, which would give us 80 for a final answer for this problem. A little longer because we had to plug back in, but again, set your sides equal to each other. Alright, so our next rule about parallelograms deals with the diagonals. Oh, that's a terrible parallelogram. Alright, so it deals with our diagonals. So the diagonals run through the middle, right? And what we know about diagonals is that the diagonals are being bisected. So these two sections are the same size, and then these two sections are the same size. So if this is 3, this side over here is 3, which means in total, right, there's 6. So we know what the whole length would be there. So let's look at this problem and what we're being asked for. We're told that LB is 6, which actually tells me that this side over here, before even reading on, is also 6, because there should be that equalness. Okay, which means my total would be 12. Again, I haven't even read the rest of the question, but just knowing that that piece is 6 gives me all this information. It then says that Ln equals 2x plus 5. Well, what is Ln? It's that whole distance, which I've already said is 12. So I have 2x plus 5 equal to 12. I'm going to solve my two-step equation by subtracting out my 5, which is going to give me a 7, and we're going to divide by 2. So x will end up being 3.5. It just says what is x, so I don't need to plug anything else back in here. Alrighty, so we're back to our farmer. He needs to enclose a section of land into the shape of a parallelogram, using one side of the barn for its side. Okay, so let's fill in my parallelogram. I think the next part is all about angles. Okay, what's true about angles is opposite angles are congruent, so they'd be like this, and adjacent angles equal 180 degrees. So we'll see that in practice in a second here, but I guess I can go ahead. If this is 80, over here is 80. What I would do from there is subtract from 180, which tells me my other two would be 100, is how I could calculate my angle measurements. So let's do it for the number that they gave us. They're telling us that we have a parallelogram. The barn and the side adjacent to the barn form an angle that is 65 degrees. Cool. If this is 65, this is also 65. It says, what is the measure of the angle opposite from this angle? Oh, we already did that. Opposite angles are congruent, 65. So let's fill this in. It says, what is E? Well, I see 110. Opposite angles are congruent. To get to E, I've got to do 180 minus that 110, which would leave me with 70. So 70 is going to fill in both of those spaces. For my next one, in number 8 here, I know that both of those angles are equal to each other. They're the same. So this is back to a solving problem. 3x plus 21 will equal 2x plus 43. Again, I always like taking my small x to the other side if x's are on both sides. So that's going to leave me with x plus 21 equals 43. And last step here will be to cancel out my 21s. So I get 22 left in here. And it asks me for my measurement of G. So at this point, I now need to plug in. So again, that's just making sure you always reread your question. Am I just solving for an x, or do I have to plug back in? So 2 times 22 plus 43. I get 44 plus 43, which is 87 degrees. So for this next one, I'd really like to actually know what my t is up here, because we know that opposite angles are congruent. And I don't know that yet, but I do know that this is 104. So I could do 180 minus 104. That's going to give me, what, 76 degrees? So that's what's up here. Now, that one and the 2x plus 25 are equal to each other. So I can set up my problem to be able to solve. Subtracting out our 25. 51, and we're going to divide by 2. So x will end up being 25.5. So using the information given, even if they're giving us the wrong angle, I should be able to set it up and solve. Whew. And last but not least, we have 10 here. What I would do for 10 here is they're not opposite, so they don't equal each other, but they do add together to give me 180. So I would set something up like 2x plus 20 plus 3x minus 85 should give me 180 degrees, which looks like a lot right now, but we should simplify. So combine your x's. 2 plus 3 is 5x, and combine your numbers. So we're doing like terms. 20 minus 85 would give me negative 65 equal to 180. We're going to solve, so we're going to add 65 to both sides. At this point, we should be at a normal two-step equation. So I get 5x equal to 245, and we're going to divide out our 5. X equals 49. Let's go double check our problem. It says, what is the measure of A? So I need to plug back into A. So 3 times 49 minus 85. Let's see, what does that come up with? 3 minus 85. 62 degrees would be the measure of that angle down there. So this is our solving for different parallelograms, some of the different rules. If you have questions, please let me know.